We're really excited to have designer Tom Strala here with us tonight, all the way from Switzerland, to lecture at CCA, and as well as run a 2-day workshop with students coming this weekend. And just on that note, there's still spaces available for that. So if you are a student at CCA and you want to join us this Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 4 in a workshop with Tom, please try to reserve a space by RSVPing to Vicky Del Rosario. And if you look at some of the posters around campus, her information and email address are on that poster, but you can also come talk to me after the lecture too, just to get that those details. So just also to let you know, this lecture's been kind of coordinated effort of different entities, us in the furniture program here at CCA, and also the New Black and Swiss Next have all been involved in bringing Tom to us tonight. So many thanks to everybody involved, and especially to Stephen Miller at the New Black. He's also a former CCA alum, just so you all know. He's going to be introducing Tom tonight for you all, and also Bob Wilms, who's the development director at New Black. And they first approached us about bringing Tom here, and we're really grateful to them for that. So without further ado, I'll turn the time over to Stephen Miller to introduce you to Tom Strala.
Hello, everyone. Wow, it's a quiet group tonight. I just wanted to let you know the reason why Tom took our interest at the New Black is he has followed the same edicts that we do with combining craft and fabrication and authenticity in his work, but also adding something really new. And I was talking with Tom today over lunch about his approach to design and the fact that he's looking at new ways of interpreting old crafts. And that's something that drew me to this environment at CCA almost 25 years ago, and what is the foundation of what we're doing at the New Black. And I don't know, how many of you have been to the New Black? A couple of you? So we're an applied arts gallery located about 6 or 8 blocks from here in an old canning facility that then was the city's sign-making facility for 35 years. And a really awesome building. We've got about 6,000 square feet and about 35 close to 35 designers now that we're representing there. And there's some fabulous lighting, a bunch of furniture, some fashion, some industrial design pieces, some graphic design. And it's an environment that we have created to foster the interests of like-minded, design-minded folks like yourself. So we are having an opening tomorrow, of which Tom is a big part of it, and there are 3 other fabricators that come from around the globe that we're really excited to present tomorrow. So I want to extend the invitation to all of you, 6 to 10 tomorrow evening at 1999 Bryant Street at the New Black. And so I think you're really going to enjoy what you are hearing from Tom this evening. He's trained as an architect in Zurich, Switzerland, and has a really interesting approach to furniture, which he kind of came through the back door, furniture and lighting and other objects as well. He came, seems to me, through the back door to that through some work in the film industry, and kind of unrelated to his architecture practice, but of course very related, because we need places to or ways of furnishing environments. So without further ado, once again, I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Tom Strala.
Hello, everybody. Thanks a lot, Bob. Thanks a lot, Barbara, for the opportunity to be here. Really appreciate to give this little lecture today, and I want to talk about materialized intelligence. And for that, I have brought two pictures with me. One is a design object and one is an art piece. Both of them have something to do with human being, and both of them are made in plastic. The design object is a memory stick with an USB connection. The memory is in a plastic finger cover. Wrinkle, nails, size, color, everything looks very real. The second example is from Erwin Wurm. It's an Austrian artist, and he made a car in a manner of a fat man. A lot of people think that an artist has just to let his work flow, that he can bring something out of himself because he is a genius or something like that. I mean, for sure we can arise something, and for sure it's also a process when we bring out something of us. But I think we have to reflect this process. We can say, well, something came out of us, but we have to think about it if it has quality or not. And this is for me the reason why art is not only a process where something is coming out like barf or something like that. I mean, you have to. I mean, that what's coming out can be something false, and this is a possibility. And so for me, it's not done when just something come out of a human. Let's have a look on this memory stick. The first time you see it, it's really fun, and it's fascinating because it has something to do with us. It's a part of our body. It's a part of our arm, a hand you can say hello to somebody. It's a finger you can take, you can show, you can hold things, and this is all in this memory stick as message. And there is also another message in this memory stick, perhaps a hidden one. So I can really easily imagine how a meat man is cutting this finger with a butcher's knife. And this brutality is also inside this object. Anyway, it's a humanization of a commodity, and in that manner it goes into a relationship with the observer. It's speaking to us, but for me, it's what does it say? So what is its message? Does it say, take me out of one computer and put me into another one that I can download some data or so? I don't think so, because for me this finger is too unsensual, and from the form, from the material, but also from this hidden message, I think it's a little bit disgusting. And for me, it says more. I'm from a gift shop of a horror cabinet, and there I can imagine that a lot of people will buy it, and it will be a long seller. But that's not the question. The question is, if I do develop an object like this one or a commodity, what kind of feeling do I want to evoke? What is my message? And then you really have to ask yourself, is it right to make a commodity which costs you a lot of overcoming to touch it, or to hold it in your hand, form which is made like agar for bacteria? So, and also this hidden message. I mean, it confusing me with an abstruse story. It telling me something, but what it says has nothing to do with its nature. It's undisputable that this is a joke. And unfortunately, this joke is over when you've bought this object. And I think a table bomb we use at New Year's Day is also a fast joke like this. But the next day you throw the paper huts into the dust, and a memory stick is something else. Now we have a look on this other example. It's from Erwin Wurm, also a humanization of a commodity. It's a car who made a body transformation like a man when he's getting fat. And in the opinion of Erwin Wurm, cars and homesteads are the central fetish of our modern human being, and this is exactly what he shows in his work. So it's in opposite to the memory stick. It's a humanization of its nature, and it's not a one-by-one translation of an existing image. So you can see that he exactly looked into the transformation and expansion process of getting fat. It's not, the car don't get fat like a human get fat. It gets fat on a car typical way. For Erwin Wurm, it's the idea of getting fat which is important. So it's a transmission into another material. Anyway, he makes us consider, and for me he says something really essential. He says that our common and elementary needs are really fast transmitted into perversion or fetish, and I fight with that. So yes. And it's each generation has its own fetish and perversion, and they can't see it because they are involved in it. And so this is for me not a fast joke like the memory stick. For me, it's a timeless piece of art, because it's timeless. You can see in these two examples that material is always a transmitter of an idea or of a message, and it don't matter if you produce a memory stick in a finger cover or a car in the manner of a fat man. It's always a message. And even if you produce an existing plastic chair just in wood, instead of plastic, it's also a message. So the question is not if something is a materialized idea. The question is something an intelligent materialization or not? To get intelligent idea, it's really important that you go into the matter, that you are willing to understand, and that you are trying to ask the right questions. That we designer comes often to a point where we can't get farther, where the object don't work, and we have to break, and we have to open ourselves, and we have to discard. And this point is really interesting, because at this point something new can come out. And if we had known it at the beginning, it wouldn't be innovative or creative anymore. And for me, this is the force of evolution, to define borders in a new way, or to move borders. And we can move these borders in different ways. So we can not only build houses or furniture or toilet paper holders. We do next weekend in the workshop. we can also form the world with our words and the way we think. So for me, thinking and talking is also a kind of sculptural process. I talk about this about thinking and talking because there it's very evident that we follow a lot of automatisms. For example, we walk every day, and this man walks this way and I walk a little bit different. So when I walk, I just make a lot of thoughts about my walking. I just do it. But if I think about how my knee is bending and which muscle is involved and what's coming next, then I get a feeling for walking, and then I make some thoughts about what does it mean to me and what does it mean to the other, and then I know that this is a form if you walk like him or like me. And if you bring will inside your walk, you can be a ballet dancer maybe. So in a more recent work, I made some thoughts about killing automatism. Let's have a look on that. Yeah, it's like this. Oh, can I stop it? Ask. So, if you ask a 6-year-old child in Switzerland to paint a house, it would look more or less like this little house here, which going into the transformation box. So I think it's probably more or less the same here in the United States, especially in LA or so. So this little house is like a symbol. So when you paint it, it means house. And what I do with this transformation box is I turn everything upside down. So suddenly the roof gets the base or terrace or a floor, or the roof of a top gets a pillar like you see in this picture. So what I do with that is I change the meaning of the signifier, and if you change the meaning of the signifier, you can come closer to the meaning, because you blend out automatisms and you can peel out what the real meaning of a word or so is. For me, it's really necessary that we break these automatisms down, not only because we have more fun in our lives, like walking like a ballet star or drinking a good glass of wine like a bohemian or so. No, for me, automatisms make us blind for precision. And this is really important for me because I think we are all professionals in talking a lot and saying nothing. And words are not good or bad, they are just used in a precise or unprecise way. And also words are not only letters who string together, they have a meaning, and you can build castle in air. And that's the reason for me why it's that important that we understand that thinking and talking is also a kind of modeling. And it's exactly the same with materials. So it's really important that you understand the meaning of material, of wood, of stone, of concrete, of everything. So I know that we can't make a design icon only in knowing a lot of materials, but it helps to be prepared, and it makes us judicious, and it gives precision to our work. So what words are for a poet, material is for a designer. And I think it's really a problem that most of us have lost the connection to material. I mean, or I and the people around me works with computer, and nobody is heating, for example, metal or so. So the feeling for material has become very abstract. And for me, to get a feeling, or the best way to get a feeling for material is to ask the right questions. And if you are willing to understand, then you can see a lot of hidden things and phenomenons. For example, we can form clay by our hand, so we can do it more or less on a simultaneous way. So we can form it, we can discard it, we can think about it, we can rethink it, and we can say, oh, it's wrong what I did, so I want to have another form, and we do that more or less in a simultaneous way. And if we have concrete, we can't do that. I mean, if you have a bunch of concrete, you can't form it by hand. You can make a heap or something like that. But if you want to make a thin wall, you need a second construction. And when you need a second construction, you need first a plan to make this second construction. And for this plan, you need some thoughts about a plan to make a plan for the second construction. So that means that thinking what the form has to be is 2 steps far away from the form. And when you have when you think your form is not good enough or is not right, then you have to start with thinking again. So for me, it's not only the artist who forms the material, it's also the material who forces the artist. And in this example, it is also the artistic approach we have, if we think first or if we do first. So material is not, material arises. That's really important for me, because that means that material was something else and went through a transformation process. And what we design or do is a kind of mirroring of this process. We create object with material given by nature, so that the original material, let's call it pixie dust, gains a new dimension, like an evolution. So material needs a specific process that it can arise from pixie dust. And if we look at if we analyze this process, then we can learn a lot about material, how we can model it, or when we can model it, or when it becomes malleable or break. And this point is interesting for us designer, because it's the point where we can do something with material, the point where a material is changing from one condition to the other, where it breaks, where it becomes malleable, from one gaseous station to the other, or if we take another nature process from the change from a rock to sand. I like that very much, because, as I mentioned before, we designer comes often to a point where we have to open us to come to something new. And material, when it can't get farther, it becomes malleable or break. Also, material is a dead matter. It seems to follow the same principles as we human do. It has to move. So I have a material example. I need a little bit water. Imagine a very thin metal sheet like aluminium foil. You can fold it by your hand and you can make a ball and you can throw it away. And imagine the same material, metal, a big beam. Even it don't break, even a skyscraper is sitting on it. So that means that the intensity of energy is completely different, that it's changed from one condition to the other. And it's always about the intensity of energy we put into a material that we can make something with it. I have here an example of mine. It's my first work I did. It's a folding lamp. It's made in metal, and I folded it by hand. So my first object after my study, and I didn't learn a lot about materials in my study, so I have to make some thoughts about metal, how the properties are and how it works. So if you look at a very thin sheet of metal, you have always more tension on the surface, and this is because of the production process of metal. So the surface is cooling out first, and the inner of the metal is still warm and liquid. And when metal is warm, it's bigger, and when it cool down, the surface is already, the shape is here, and the inner going together, and then you have a lot of tension outside. So my first intention to do this lamp was just to make some scratches on both sides of the metal, and I thought that it will goes into the right position because of this material typical tension. It didn't work, and you see here, this is the first prototype. It's brass, and it's the vertical lines are these scratches, and no, the horizontal lines are the scratches, and the vertical lines are the water jet. So I have to think about metal again, and at the end it's a really simple solution. So I talked about the metal before, so I needed in this object I needed this folding and this stable properties we had from the beam and the aluminium foil. I needed these properties. So I took a metal sheet which is very thin, so you can't fold it by your hand, and I thinned it out there where I needed it. And if you look at the metal sheet, even if it's very thin, you have 3 dimensions, so you can thin out the metal in 2 different dimensions. Here you see that the metal with this horizontal scratch is thinned out on the thin way, and in the final example it's like that. I thinned it out till here, and I left just a little bit of the metal, and there I can fold it. So I just want to show you the production process of this lamp. So this is also a ceiling lamp, like the example we have saw. It's a bigger one, and I need for this lamp 4 of these sheets. I just weld them together. Perhaps we see it afterwards. Now you see how the structure is coming out. Yes, and you see through the lamp, so the light comes out here. Yes, now it comes the second part and goes on like this. Then I weld the metal sheets together. So here we are. I just give you a little insight in my work. So this is the lamps called Comic. Slalom from Ronaldo, or Pamela Anderson in Baywatch, or the flight of a hummingbird. Slow motion allows us the analysis of movement, and it's really fascinating how close motion and standing still or stop comes. And I think there is no profession who can illustrate this union better than comic strip artists. And my lamp Comic, which is designed in 2009, shows exactly this union, or illustrate this union of motion and standing still. The electric cable is mounted in the manner which illustrates jumping or hopping in comic character. It freezes like a quick moment, and for me this metaphor that standing still means motion, and motion means standing still, is wonderful. So I give you, oh no, yes, yeah, oh, yes, this one. So Schweine, this is a really funny one. Schweine is made in the same technique like this folding lamp, and you can't eat Schweine, and it's also useless for your daily life. It's no Swiss Army knife or a perpetual motion machine. It's just a pig without any features. And even if it's a pig without any features, you can say everything. It's a toy. It's handcrafted. It's art. It's an object. It's subversive. It contains the self-combustion of the artist, because sex sells. On top, this Schwein is lustful, and this is exactly what you see every day in the advertisement for yogurts also, and. This Schwein is also a cult object, and that reminds us on this artist who told us, I label these cans, and now they aren't cans anymore, they are now art. And I mean, Schwein is something else than these cans, but it's this labeling process reminds us on this manipulation of the artist, and it's exactly the same you see in the movie, or you after couples of hours in the movie Matrix or so. And yeah, for sure, a lot of people have written about it or wrote about it, and philosophers, social critics, but in contrast, Matrix is good, and with Schweine, you don't really know if it's also a little bit bad. And how much is criticism and how much is self-criticism? So this piggish thing is more than a folding pig. It's criticism on it's critique on everything. It's criticism on us, on the artist, on our society, on our consumerism, on our art, on the price of our art, on the culture of buying and donating. Yeah, you get it like this. So if you still want to buy it, yes, Kalahari. Once I should design a lamp for a big company, and the client told me, hey Tom, just make it like the iPhone, functional, simple, and very sexy. And yes, years later I bought my own iPhone, paid it, it fell down, and the glass broken. So that was the moment where I recognized that something which is not functional must have something else that it represents functionality. And the iPhone with its glass has a clear appearance and looks hygienic. It is clear, washable, and without any bric-a-brac. The polished glass represents faultlessness and perfection, and maybe this let us think that it is functional. So good design is not only a reduction on function and aesthetics for me. So otherwise the iPhone would be a bad design. The iPhone plays with our conception of the goods and let us forget its abilities. Each generation define these values of the good in a different way. And in 2005, where I made this chair, the Swiss design community was agreed that everything has to look flush. Yes. No edges, just edges, just planes, no boltings, no construction should be visible, and the iPhone is just like a temporary peak of this trend. And Kalahari gives an impulse to become aware of every link and criticizes the preferential position that flush is always correct. Sorry. Hard language. So that's a newer one. This is table. You can see at the new black. Oh, this is cool. You saw that at the beginning on the poster. In 1983, the first energy-saving bulb with electronic blast and normal fitting bulb was developed. It's it's a glowing ring on this rectangle, and inside this rectangle is the electronic blast. So it's a unsensual and clumsy object, and it's ugly, but on the same time it's very intelligent, and that was what interested me to make an object with this piece. So. Design is for me not only glare or grace or elegance. It's for me it's not a job of decoration. It's if we design or have just beauty in our mind, or we addicted to it, we risk that our ideas get really fast trivial or romantic or kitschy. I hold it with Galmaras. This is the lamp. 73 of this shapeless lights together to a big candelabra, and this generates an image between this dry, unemotional intellect and the dream or the wish of a pompous and sacral illumination. Yes, this is Frankenstein chair. Monica, a good friend of mine, she wanted to be everything. She wanted to be charming, intelligent, beautiful, tough, naughty, sensual, everything at the same time. And the most she wanted to be glaring. And I made always a little bit fun of her until the moment I recognized that such a moan is also in me too. So this was reason enough for me to put all this characteristic or characters into a shape of a chair. And this was the birth of Frankenstein, and I put them together from Jean Prouvé-Cité, Ronarat's Domvac, and Arne Jacobsen's Series 7. The specific attractiveness of those objects were the ingredients and the result is unresistible beauty or just the chaos in myself. So you have to decide. I'm already at the end of this lecture, so I want to give you a little insight, a little summary of my insight. So what is important for me? So each object we produce is a signifier and has a message. It doesn't matter if it's a memory stick in a finger cover or a car modeled in a manner of a fat human. Only reflection and intellectual studies let us recognize what we have done. It gives us the opportunity to arrive in the right direction, protect us from blind amorousness of the own product. And it's also what I think is important, that that's not only the artist which forms material, it's also material who forces the artist. I know that art is something else than just a realization process, but I think it's really important that we know or we are clear about the connection between the great idea and the product. I give this weekend a little workshop. It's a toilet paper holder, and I like this exercise very much because this is a prime example of an object where we have a lot of automatisms. So it's like the example I talked of before of walking, and I mean we use a toilet paper holder every day. I see the toilet paper holder more than I see my mother. And I think there are two reasons why they look always the same. So one reason could be that the toilet paper holder is that perfect that nobody can improve it, or nobody wants to reflect it. Anyway, it's a very interesting object for a designer because it has three functions. You have to store it up, it has to roll, and you have to rip it up. So you can make a lot of thoughts about only these functions, and there are also other questions we can ask ourselves. For example, the question how much I disgust myself from this object and why, and how can this object make my daily life easier, or how can I integrate it into the room that it doesn't disturb me anymore. The toilet paper holder is an unloved child, but that don't mean that it has no interesting aspects in, and with material we can weak these aspects, or we can make them stronger. So I think we have some more informations here for you, and there are also some other questions you can ask yourself, and also some examples inside for filling up, for cutting, and for rolling from other examples, not from toilet paper holders. So I think it's good that we open our mind to come to something new, and I'm really excited to do that because I never did a toilet paper holder before, and it's a challenge for me too. And I really want that we can find out which is the reason, if it's the reason that a toilet paper holder is that good that we can't improve it, or if nobody wants to rethink it. So I really appreciate if a lot of you comes to this workshop next Saturday, and for now I thank you for listening, and hope see you on Saturday. Thanks.
And if anybody has some questions, are you willing to have a little Q&A if anybody has any questions?
Yes?
Do you use any digital fabrication or CNC in any of your furniture making?
3D visualization. Sorry, my
No, I'm sorry. Do you use digital fabrication or CNC machines?
Okay. Yes, CNC I don't use till now. I need the laser cutting for this folding lamp and also for Schweini. So that's what I use. Yes.
How many, what's your volume with the objects that you make?
Oh,
For instance,
I don't make a lot of objects. So for this first lamp you have saw, I needed 4 years to develop it. So it took me a long time, and I think it's for me it's the right thing to be clear what I want to do before I start the next. So at the moment I have 3 or 4 prototypes which are almost at the end, but not at the end. So I don't know when they come out. And actually I have perhaps made 14 objects, something like that.
If I understand some of the pieces on your website correctly, you didn't show them tonight, but look at your website. Some of your wood pieces are very thin elements of wood.
Yes.
Joined end grain. And the question I have, since wood is soda straws, what kind of joinery do you find is actually structurally sound?
Yes, that's really good question, because I think you're talking about this here. Yes, this is a table. It looks like that, and you can put it together in 3 pieces. And if you know how, I don't know the word Fachwerk. Does anybody knows the word Fachwerk? This structure. This structure is normally you need here a cross.
We have a linguist here.
Half timber.
Huh?
Half timber.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So normally you need this cross so that it is stable, and that's a good question, because I have made a very complicated construction inside the connection of this here. So this has to be very strong, that it don't goes like this. And I actually took that's a tool that it calls Fest Tool. Perhaps you know it, and they make like domino stones inside, and that's how I made it, and I made it like that. So they are connected like this together, so it gets stronger, and
So
then
it's a half lap. It's a half lap festival.
yes.
Like number 4 or 5.
Oh, you ask questions. No, it's I think it's 5. It's 5. Yes, and for the glue I used epoxy, because that makes it very strong. Yes, that's the best to connect it. That you get a really strong connection. You're welcome. I hope I can. Yes.
It's not really a question. My impression is that the domino is a sliding tenon,
A
a loose tenon.
tenon is.
Yeah, you're cutting a hole in 2 places, and you put the domino piece to go between them to glue it. That's really a loose tenon.
Tenon means join. That it loose. No. No. You can. Okay, I'm not from Festool here, but you can, on the Festool you can look. You can make the joint bigger or smaller, so you can make it very fast. So you have that there is no space outside the domino stone. So, and if you make it like that, you don't lose tension. So you lose because the wood inside is together. You don't have a hole or so. So that makes it strong. Shall I make a sketch?
I have a question. When you introduced Tom, you said you had fabricators coming from Europe in your shop. I don't understand the word fabricator as someone who sells in a shop. Maybe you could explain that. Like, what is a fabricator? I've never heard that to describe someone. And Tom, do you consider yourself a fabricator?
I do these prototypes by my own, and so I'm a kind of fabricator when I understand the word correct. But I'm not a fabricator in that kind that I make all these series one after others. So, but for me it's really important that I have a feeling for these materials and how it goes together, and where I can improve it, or where I can make it a bit thinner, or what I want, or to make more I don't know. Yes.
It's interesting because fabrication means sort of assuming theatricality in a way. You're presenting maybe a ruse almost. It's standing in for something else, a fabrication, so to speak. So when you said fabrication, it's interesting.
I feel like the words we use to describe what we do are constantly in flux, and that we're chasing around after the right words, and then they assume different meanings. Fabricator to me is a different word than maker, but it means the same thing.
Is it the same as designer?
No. Designer, fabricator.
No, but fabricating.
I think it doesn't mean the
physically
same
making
thing.
something.
I don't think it
Someone else
does.
designs it and then you are just making it.
I think a lot of designers don't make things.
Right.
And so most of the designers that we represent in the gallery are actual makers or fabricators or craftspeople, or you can use any one of those words, but they all carry a certain weight to them. And fabricator is the word that I use when introducing Tom, but not necessarily because I think he's more of a fabricator than a maker, or more of a fabricator than a craftsperson.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I like the word because to me fabrication is not creating a ruse. It's putting something together. And certainly Tom puts things together.
How do you differentiate that between a craftsperson and a fabricator? Because a craftsperson also does what you do. They look to see they need something thinner, stronger, more unusual, pushing the edge. A craftsperson does that exact thing.
Right, but I wouldn't use both those words in that sentence because it would sound redundant.
That's true, but how do you differentiate between the two is what I'm wondering.
I couldn't use them interchangeably.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
Tom,
Yes.
I was just gonna say, I really appreciate that, because a lot of designers don't take it upon themselves to do serious material
Yes.
research. And there's that aspect to your work that is really interesting to me.
Thank you.
That you have a physical understanding of these materials and what they're capable of doing, and being able to push them in your own studio. And I think that's missing from a lot of production.
Yes.
As you're aware, obviously. But I was curious, when you're in maybe your developmental or research stages,
Yes.
what kind of time are you spending with these materials, and what are you doing to kind of explore and research? What kinds of things are you involved in? You want to just talk about maybe a material or a project in particular?
Often I just try, and then I see, and then I have to ask myself, how can I do it better when it don't work? So that's a bit my approach. So I have now a better feeling than I had at the start, and so I can imagine how material works and where I can form it also, but I come also often to a point where it don't works, like on this table. I mean, I had to figure out something new, that the connection works, because at the beginning it was like that. So it's really hard to say what it is. I think you have to, you come to the point where it don't work, and then you have to look, and you have to open, you have to ask people, you have to take perhaps another wood or another material or another metal or another glue or whatever. So it's also a lot of experiment, but interesting is that the questions you ask yourself becomes more and more precise, because you have the feeling what could be wrong and how you can do it better. So I hope I give you a little bit an answer, but I see you're not completely happy.
I was just thinking more of like advice to students, because maybe our
Yes. I think we see that also in this process when we do these workshops. So how we can do that. Okay. So thanks a lot.